Hey guys, welcome for another episode of Live with Dell Anthony. Thank you for watching my last episode with the Raiders, about the Raiders, my beloved Raiders. But now we're going to get into some fun stuff, some opinion stuff. Please hit that like. Please understand that without you guys, there's no me, so I really appreciate that. I want to get into who I feel are the most influential football players in the modern football era. Now I know there's many different players you can name, past, present, what have you, but I'm talking about people that I feel really got to change the game to make football be what it is. We're gonna have an honorable mention, and if it's from my beloved Raiders, is Marcus Allen. If you think of everything Marcus Allen was able to do on a football field, what he even did with the Chiefs when so-called he was past his prime, but mainly that run in the Super Bowl. Remember that run when he started one way and turned and went the other way? I believe it was like a 60-something yard touchdown. It was one of the greatest runs in Super Bowl history. But Marcus Allen also was able to run, catch, throw. He was like one of the smartest people on the field. And I think he was also an amazing, amazing, amazing Raider. My second honorable mention, not to be last but least, but is Roger Craig. He made it popular to receive out of the backfield. The first R superstar, we call it, rushing and receiving over 1,000 yards. Actually, he was my brother's favorite football player. But honestly, Roger Craig made it cool to be a running back to catch out the backfield. So there we have it. Marcus Allen, Roger Craig. Now we're going to go into the top 10 in this man's opinion. Number 10 is Walter Payton. Everybody know who Sweetness is. Played for a lot of bad Chicago Bears team into the mid-'80s. What I loved about Walter Payton is he gave the hit before he took it. What I loved about him, he was the first power back. I mean, you could talk about Earl Campbell, you could talk about a few other guys, Jim Brown, but he was the first power back to not can only run you over, he can go the distance. Very smart football player as well. I think the biggest tragedy that I seen with him is they didn't let him score a touchdown in the Super Bowl after he did all that work for them, all that stuff, and then they get to the Super Bowl and they let the refrigerator William Perry get a touchdown and not Walter Payton. So rest in peace, WP, but Walter Payton was the man. Number 9, if it wasn't not for my guy who's further up my list, he would be up there, but Rod Woodson. If you remember Rod Woodson, he was one of the first cornerbacks that had that so-called world-class speed. And what I loved about Rod Woodson, he was on offense playing defense, or on defense playing offense, meaning that when he caught the ball, it was a chance to score. He was a great punt returner. He did a lot of things for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he actually came and played for yours truly's Raiders in the early 2000s. And it was great watching him play. And I remember on Tecmo Bowl, in the second Tecmo Bowl, the one when they had all the teams, he can pick it off and he can run it back, and he was a matchup problem. Then I want to go into one of the most dangerous feared safeties in NFL history for my number 8 guy, and that's Ronnie Lott. A guy that can cut his finger off and still finish the game. That you got some stuff with you to do something like that. But Ronnie Lott, he was the one guy that you did not want to go across the middle and receive in front of him. He was part of that 49er dynasty, and it made people. I remember growing up when people saying Lott, Ronnie Lott, wanting to play that safety position because he was just so dangerous in how he played. He did start off as a cornerback, and then later in his years became a safety, but Ronnie Lott was definitely known. Number 7 for me, Joe Montana, Joe Cool. I mean, he's the one that all these modern day football quarterbacks try to model their their image off of, being cool and calm under pressure. And he's the one guy that they make a joke that in the Super Bowl, he actually pointed in the stands when the 49ers was driving against the Bengals and saying, "Isn't that John Candy?" And everybody thought that was, wow, how can he be so calm under pressure? But he's the original Joe Cool, 4 Super Bowl wins, head of one of the second biggest dynasty in the modern era, because the Steelers, of course, was first in the 70s, but then it was the 49ers in the 80s. Number 6, Barry Sanders. Enough said. Barry Sanders, the Houdini on the football field. The now you see him, now you don't. The guy that can make grown men look really silly and really dumb in pursuit of him. My most memorable game about Barry Sanders, and I believe it was against the Chicago Bears. He was running, and of course, as my channel will develop, I'll have more things where I can have clips and things, but this is just off of memory. He was running and stopped. The defensive guy turned thinking he would be there. He turned back around, he wasn't there. Then he almost tackled his own guy, and then Barry Sanders made two guys crash as he ran to the end zone. And I was like, that's incredible how a guy can stop on a dime like that. That was amazing. Um, um, the next guy on the list, who else? Prime time, Deion Sanders. If not for the previous guys ahead of him, the previous four ahead of him, Deion Sanders was definitely a guy that not only innovated how cornerbacks play now, he innovated how offenses was designed to use one side of the field or use the halfbacks or running backs because you were scared to throw to the receivers because he could shut a whole field down. The fact that he doesn't get the respect he got is because the media didn't always like him. They liked him for they loved him for a soundbite, but they didn't like him because he was very. They felt me first, but he was never me first. He was marketing himself. In the age where cornerbacks didn't make a lot of money, he made it to where, hey, it's all about me. But he proved it on the field. This is the one guy. Think about this, guys. He was on one team in 1994, the San Francisco 49ers. They won a championship. He was so cool that he got Jerry Rice, Mr. Conservatives, who I love to death, to actually have a little fun and laugh. And he had William Floyd and Ricky Waters rap and talk about the flip side. Win the Super Bowl. Jerry Jones says, not on my watch, because they beat the Cowboys. Signs him with the Cowboys the next year, and then the Cowboys win the Super Bowl. Shows you how influential and how great he really was. The next one, the Minister of Defense. Reggie White. He was a beast. He was unbelievable, dominant to be in a defensive end position. The way he changed games, influenced games. If you was a team in the NFC East, or if you was a team or a kid that loved your team, the worst thing you wanted was for Reggie White to be going against you that Sunday, because you knew your quarterback would have a very, very, very long afternoon. Now, this next pick, I'm a little biased, and he would have been higher if not for the recency of the number 2 guy. But the third most influential player in my life is who my nickname was growing up, LT, Lawrence Taylor. He was a beast. And he changed the way offensive linemen were drafted. He made it to where offensive linemen got picked number 1 because you had to watch their quarterback's blind side. Most quarterbacks were righty, so you had to watch their blind side. Lawrence Taylor made the left tackle very popular. He can chase down plays. People would design plays to run away from Lawrence Taylor. That's how dangerous he was. He impacted the DTs, Derek Thomas. He impacted the Cornelius Bennett. He impacted the Pat Swellings. He was amazing. And forget about off the field. We're talking on the field. And on the field, Lawrence Taylor was the truth. Number 2, have to give it to him. I heard the situation with him and Shannon Sharp. I understand that, Shannon is a Hall of Famer, and I have much respect for him in the tight end position. But number 2 has to be Tom Brady. Who else would it be? The only reason he's not higher, because I don't think a quarterback dominates a game like that. I think the offenses have changed now, so a quarterback can dominate it. Remember, offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. But Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowl rings. He has 7. Forget the franchise having 7. He has 7. And why I like Tom Brady's story, I know people say the good old boy, whatever. What I love about Tom Brady's story, because your child that is playing sports right now is more likely a Tom Brady than he is a Michael Jordan or a Joe Montana. Meaning, every kid is not a first-round pick. Every kid is not a kid that comes in and everybody likes him. I remember them laughing at Tom Brady. Laughing at the draft when they show your body, when they have shorts. I never understood that. Not trying to sound, unpolitically correct, but I never understood that what that means. He looks good in shorts. They say that a lot when it comes to the draft. I know what it means from the visual, But to actually judge a person of what they can do on the field because of that, I don't understand that. Because people could be built like Greek gods, but they can crack easy. So I never understood that. But Tom Brady was laughed at, and he's turned around to be the GOAT as far as quarterbacks. He is the GOAT, hands down. You can say what you want, because there's more than just being good at a sport and having stats. Because there's a lot of guys that you people might name and put in the comments later, but stats isn't everything. It's also longevity. And Tom Brady is standing the test of time. You can say they changed the rules. There's still quarterbacks a lot younger than him not doing what he's doing. Then when he leaves the team that people try to say is the coach, he wins another Super Bowl the very next year. So he's definitely the GOAT of quarterbacks, and he's definitely earned the spot to jump my man Lawrence Taylor to be number 2. But number 1, it's like Rakim and rap. My son Ty James, we talk about this. Lyrical unquestioned is Rakim. This guy on the football field is football unquestioned. Can't question it. Jerry Rice. The greatest, in my opinion, no matter what era you take it in, the greatest player of all time. Look at his stats. Forget about his stats. Look about what he did. Look about the numbers. Look about the Super Bowls. Look about even when he was close to his 40s, I believe he was like between 38 and 40, he came to the Raiders and was still a 1,000-yard receiver. I'll tell you one stat alone. Over 14,000-yard seasons. 14,000-yard seasons. That's the only stat I got to name, because I don't have to name over 23,000 23,000 combined yards. I don't want to get into all that, because that's just saying numbers. Anybody can look up numbers and know stuff. The eye test. I'm kind of old school. So for me, it's the eye test. And when I watched that screen, I know he was nothing to play with. Now, what I can say is one play in particular, just to show you how amazing he was. It was against the Giants, my beloved LT and the Giants. And the 49ers called the 78 all go. And all it was Jerry Rice streaking down the field and Joe Montana hitting him. Mark Collins, Elvis Toast Patterson, whatever you want to say, needless to say, Jerry Rice, 78 yards all go. That was the name of the play. They knew Jerry Rice can beat those guys. And that was back when offenses didn't score like that. Now, there are some other people that I didn't name on this list. That's my list. And I know you're going to say Randy Moss. I know you're going to say John Elway, Peyton Manning. I understand all of that. This is who I feel made the game the way the game became. So those people wanted to actually play the game as well. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Thank you very much for tuning in. Put your comments in. We can have a debate show on that, on your list, my list. Also, coming up in a few days will be my take on this NFL playoffs, and I will be making my predictions. Thank you very much for tuning in. God bless. Without you guys, there's no me. Thank you.